Hello boys and girls. I wanted to show you another method for determining the amount of whole based on a value that represents a percentage of it. So ultimately I'd like to find out what the whole number is worth based on knowing what a percentage of it is worth. I wanted to show you this quick circle thing. We did this with our strategies a couple of weeks ago. If this represents the whole value, this circle, and this part represents, I don't know, let's say $3,000. What I'm asking you to solve for, boys and girls, then is, what does the rest of the circle, or the entire circle rather, represent? If this part is $3,000, what is the entire circle? And that's what I mean when I say, demonstrate to me that you can determine the amount of a whole number based only on knowing the value of its percent. If I told you that this piece here, if I said that it's 15%, what you know is this, that this much represents 15%, and that 15% is equal to $3,000. What is 100%? That's the type of math I'm actually asking you to do. And I'm asking you to solve and find out and determine what the whole number value is of the entire circle based on knowing that $3,000 represents 15% of it, or 15/100ths of it, or 15 over 100. Mathematically, 15 over 100 is equal to $3,000. So, what's 100 out of 100 then? This is what I'm asking you to solve, and we're putting it into some context here with our home buying, which most of you have completed, and most of you did that yesterday on Wednesday. Well, so let's take a look at this. The money that I've saved up is 3.5% of what? First of all, let's put this into some context by asking ourselves some questions. What is the money that I've saved up? The money that I've saved up is $8,000. Okay, so we don't have to worry about the money that I've saved up. So let's just translate that. The money that I've saved up, really $8,000, that is 3.5% of what number? Okay, this $8,000 is also going to represent my down payment. In the context that we're working with, $8,000 is how much you're going to give to the bank right away. And that $8,000 represents just 3.5% of an entire value. So if $8,000 is 3.5% of a number, what is that number? So, let's begin. What I tried to show you first was asking yourself questions. The money that I've saved up is 3.5% of what? Well, what is the money you've saved up? We said it's $8,000. So let's, write that. $8,000 is 3.5% of what? So now we're working with this more mathematical statement. I'll get a different highlighter. It doesn't work really. None of these highlighters really work on this color. $8,000 is 3.5% of what? Let's think of it for a moment. $8,000 represents 3.5%. If you would like to see that better visually, let's represent it visually. One of the lessons, some of the modeling that I did, and I did minimal instruction with this too, because I tried to get you to ask questions, to derive answers, to get to solutions, take ownership. This is your whole value. Well, I will tell you that 3.5% of it, that much is $8,000. Okay? That's what we know. 3.5% is equal to $8,000. Boy, wow. Well, if this much is $8,000, the entire circle is how much? That's what we're trying to figure out. So, let's proceed with trying to solve this. I solved it in Model to you on day 2 or day 3. I think it was day 3. I modeled to you. Maybe it was day 2. I modeled to you my algebraic thinking. Some of you enjoyed this. Alexandra, for example, enjoyed this. I think Natalia started playing around with it. Robin, too. Sai Ji and Srijan, they told me that, and Arjun, too, said they could solve this algebraically. Even Mike. So there's a few of you who warmed up to this algebraic method. Kabi, some of you got excited over this algebraic method. So we're taking statements and we're trying to solve for a number. $8,000 is 3.5% of what? I wrote it more mathematically. $8,000 is 3.5 hundredths of what? I'm going to scratch that percentage sign that shouldn't be there off. Sorry. Trying to get to the pen. $8,000 is 3.5 hundredths of what? Okay, so here's what we know. We know that $8,000 is 3.5 hundredths. This is a grid of 100ths. So $8,000 is 1, 2, 3, and a half. I'll make a better half. This much money? 3.5 out of 100? That's $8,000. When we did this in class, some of you preferred to count every 3.5 squares as $8,000. 7 squares would be $16,000. 10.5 squares would be $24,000. Some of you prefer it that way, and that's fine. That's your strategy. You came up with it. You did it. Good. I'll show you my algebraic strategy. I said $8,000 is 3.5 hundredths of what? Well, I could also write it like this. And while I'm doing this, ask yourself, how would you write it algebraically? See if you can remember what you did in class, or what you tried in class with algebra. $8,000 is equal to. Is going to be represented by an equal sign. We're getting more mathematical. 3.5 hundredths. I'm going to write this as a decimal. 3.5 hundredths of what? What? I'm going to use a variable, n. $8,000 is 35 hundredths of n. That's what this means. That's really what this means. $8,000 is 35 hundredths of n. I'll take it a step further by writing more mathematical statements. We're making this more mathematical. $8,000 is equal to 35 hundredths, not of n, but times n. $8,000 is equal to 35 hundredths times n. That's what this is. That's the same. This is the same thing as $8,000 is 3.5% of what? This and this are the same. $8,000 is 3.5% of what? Okay, now we have to isolate n. We isolate n by doing the inverse operation of multiplication. We want to get n by itself. So we do the inverse of multiplication because we see 35 hundredths multiplying n here. So divide this side by 35 hundredths. That leaves us with n. We're also going to divide this side by 35 hundredths. Sorry, yes, 35 hundredths. I'll make this more clear. Sorry, messed up with the decimal. So we divide each side by 35 hundredths. Okay, 8,000 divided by 35 hundredths. But we started here to isolate n. 35 hundredths divided by 35 hundredths. 8,000 divided by 35 hundredths. Let me get an eraser here. Okay. So now I can take my calculator and find out what is 8,000 divided by 35 hundredths. 8,000 divided by 35 hundredths is equal to $228,571. Okay? 8,000 divided by 0.035 is equal to $228,571,000. The home's value, the whole value, is $228,571. If 3.5% represents 8,000, okay, then 100% represents $228,571. So then we could write that N is equal to $228,571, based on knowing that 3.5% is 8,000. Take a step back. You can rewatch the lesson, try your own strategies out, and that's it. See you later.